should be in tip-top shape. These tips are signs that your brakes are ready for changing. If you feel a pull to the side as you brake, it may mean there is a need to do a brake adjustment or the brake fluid needs to be drained. Loud metallic sounds or growling as you brake is an indication that your brake pads are worn completely and need replacement immediately. If this is delayed, it may scratch your rotors or create permanent damage, which could mean a replacement is necessary.
This public service announcement was brought to you by TDC Insurance Company Limited.
TDCIC, guaranteeing you peace of mind.
Hi there, good morning to you. Time to welcome you to another edition of Voices on WinFM 98.9. Our numbers are 4660989, 6620989, 7620989. We're standing by for your calls. We have an open mic today.
I'll take a small.
XL, that's the size for me. Flo's new prepaid combo plans have the most choice and value for everyone. Save up to 90% by combining your talk, text, and data into one simple plan. And with options starting at just $19.99, it's easy to say it, type it, or share it. A whole lot more for a whole lot less. Dial *129# now to activate. The bigger you go, the bigger you save with Flo's new prepaid combo plans. This is how we flow.
I'll take a small.
XL, that's the size for me. Flo's new prepaid combo plans have the most choice and value for everyone. Save up to 90% by combining your talk, text, and data into one simple plan. And with options starting at just $19.99, it's easy to say it, type it, or share it. A whole lot more for a whole lot less. Dial *129# now to activate. The bigger you go, the bigger you save with Flo's new prepaid combo plans. This is how we flow.
Me touch a bust that time now. Watch me a bust and smile out. Ah boy, freestyle, free buster a freestyle. Watch me a playing full color meanwhile. Whole heap of flavor, every one of them tries. The drink are refreshing and nice. Me tell you say a buster me buy you with my money. This a everybody drink, I know me one love it. Have it ya, feed the kids them daddy harmony. Buster we playing full color. Correct, I am T.
Imagine a place that has all that you need. All of the things for your business to succeed. Furniture, copiers, laptops and more. TDC Business Center is your #1 store. Print and copy and scan and fax. Our copy center does all of that. If you're having a party and you need chairs and tents, you've got all your needs at Grand Rentals for rent. The TDC Business Center has everything your business needs. Superior copy and printing services, business equipment and furniture, and a wide array of renting materials for all occasions. TDC Business Center, providing solutions that work.
All right, we're standing by for your calls, 4660989, 6620989, 7620989. What's on your mind this morning? All right, the curtains came down on the CARICOM Heads of Government meeting in Haiti, and we will try to get a communique and share it with you, but we will share, as we did this morning on the breakfast show, comments made at the opening of that conference by the Secretary General, Mr. Erwin LaRocque, basically outlining some of the issues facing the region, facing the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union and the other states that together combined with ECCU would be called CARICOM. So it's the OECS and the other states as well. So we play a bit of that for you, that presentation, as we await your calls this morning. In terms of what he had to say. You could tell me what you think about what he had to say if you're so minded. So let's hear a little bit. Start from the very beginning, but we take it, when he's already sailed off. He's left the moorings now, and this is where we'll join the the Secretary General of CARICOM.
The cost of rebuilding, which has been assessed at more than $5 billion, demands significant levels of financing, which we are unable to generate on our own. The magnitude of that rebuilding effort will require a long-term effort. Recovery and reconstruction are ongoing, even as the region prepares for the next hurricane season, which is 5 months away. The reality is that the intensity and frequency of severe climatic events, whether it be hurricanes, droughts, or unseasonal heavy rainfall, are our new normal. We must all be prepared. That preparation is necessary for all our member states and associate members. It is why we must pursue the goal of creating a climate-resilient community. Building resilience requires significant investment to reduce risks and vulnerabilities to prepare for the impact of such intense climate-based events. What is needed is access to resources, which must include significant grant funding and very concessional financing. Without access to such financing, this would exacerbate already high debt levels across the region, which is due in large measure to exogenous shocks, including severe climatic events. Most of our countries are categorized as middle or high income and are largely ineligible for concessional development financing and official development assistance, to the use of GDP per capita as the principal criterion. The Bahamas, an upper middle income country, sustained cumulative damage and loss of US $678 million by hurricanes that hit between 2015 and 2017, which necessitated access to non-concessional financing. In the case of our associate members, their sources of finance are limited. They do not have access to international financial institutions. The British Virgin Islands sustained damage in excess of US $1 billion from Hurricane Irma. Our region finds itself in extraordinary circumstances, which therefore require extraordinary solutions. There is need for new thinking, leading to changes in the criteria for determining access to concessionary financing by small, vulnerable, middle-income states. We began the task of attracting resources with the CARICOM UN High-Level Pledging Conference held in New York last November. Some of the pledges have been honored, and we continue to collaborate with our partners to realize the other commitments. The issue of disaster management and climate change will be discussed at this meeting with the full realization that, as the Prime Minister of Dominica, the Honorable Roosevelt Skedrick, said, we are on the front line, facing the effects of climate change. Our very existence is at stake. As we pool our resources and strategies to combat the damaging effect of climate change, we need to do so as well to counteract another threat to our societies. I refer to the effects of crime and violence. This is taking a heavy toll on the society, not only with respect to the loss of life, but with injuries and psychological trauma. The greatest impact is on our families. The foundation of any strong society is the family, and within that circle, that the battle against the scourge must begin. The tried and tested values of love, hard work, honesty, building, belief in self and self-respect are key weapons that must also be deployed in our streets, in our towns, and in our villages. The message must be clear. Crime and violence do not provide a pathway to success. 5 years ago, here in Port-au-Prince, we adopted the CARICOM Crime and Security Strategy. The time may have come to revisit it and identify the areas in which we need to improve in order to make it more effective. Last July, several member states signed the CARICOM Arrest Warrant Treaty, which simplifies the procedure of returning fugitives to the country where charges have been laid. The treaty being ratified as soon as possible. We are close to finalizing the agreement on the return of sharing of recovered assets. This provides a framework for the return or sharing of criminal assets which have been moved to another jurisdiction. I had hoped that the negotiations would have been completed to enable signature at this meeting. I now expect that it will be ready for our meeting in July. These are important legal instruments which are significant additions to our armory against trans-border crime. We have also been working on a counter-terrorism strategy. For us in CARICOM, an act of terrorism or violent extremism in one member state will resonate and have repercussions throughout our entire region. The issue on crime and violence is a regional problem that demands a regional solution. It requires the full cooperation of all the national and regional agencies charged with the responsibility for addressing crime and security. Mr. Chairman, distinguished heads, we cannot allow the threats of climate change and crime and violence to derail our efforts at building a viable and prosperous community for all our people. We have made substantial progress in many areas, including the single market component of the CARICOM single market and economy. The implementation plan for the outstanding issues related to the single market, agreed to last July, must be adhered to for full compliance in the specified time frame. We must accelerate the use of the provisions of the CSME to help us build our economic resilience. I was quite pleased to participate last Friday at a forum on the CSME here in Port-au-Prince with the Haitian private sector, youth and other stakeholders. The eagerness by all for Haiti to complete its internal arrangements to become CSME compliant were encouraging. I have no doubt that the creativity and entrepreneurial spirit of this vibrant country will ensure that Haiti plays a major role in the CSME. A critical aspect of the CSME is the transportation sector, which will receive a boost at this meeting with the new CARICOM Multilateral Air Services Agreement being ready for signature. This is a major advance as it expands the scope for airlines owned by CARICOM nationals to provide air services throughout the community. The agreement allows for no restriction on routes, capacity, or traffic rights. It should facilitate increased intra-regional travel and provide more cargo options for exporters and importers with resulting cost savings. In the midst of our strenuous efforts to enhance our economic prospects, there are issues which are creating impediments. One such is the continuing unfair labeling of some member states as non-cooperative tax jurisdictions. Member states of our community continue to work diligently to comply with the onerous regulatory measures and standards for tax transparency, accountability, and cooperation established by the relevant global authorities. However, these efforts are seemingly not recognized by some developed countries, and our member states are subjected to arbitrary evaluations and blacklisting. While we are being blacklisted by these developed countries, they neglect to do the same among their own. Unilateral actions have been taken, for instance, by the European Union, but that process is clearly outside the inclusive framework that has been adopted by the international standard-setting bodies. The unpredictability and uncertainty arising from the evolving nature of the EU criteria and process is a matter of great concern. Indeed, the actions may actually constitute an infringement on the right of sovereign states to determine their fiscal policy. The community calls for recognition of the primacy of the established international standard-setting bodies. Further, there must be an all-inclusive process in the determination and application of agreed standards to reflect mutually determined good tax governance principles. The impact of blacklisting is deleterious to the economic prospects and social progress of CARICOM states. Labeling as a tax haven can contribute to further marginalization of CARICOM states in respect of access to global financial systems by the reduction of correspondent banking services. The further loss of such services remains a significant risk for member states, particularly as the labeling process accelerates. Mr. Chairman, Excellencies, Head of State and Government, there is no denying that these are trying times. The resilience of our society and our people is being severely tested. There is no better illustration of how to withstand and overcome these challenges than the country where we are today. Haiti's history of resolve and resilience can inspire us as we strive to surmount the obstacles that impede our progress towards a safe, secure, viable, and prosperous future for all our community.
WINN is 98.9. 98.9 is WIN FM.
You're tuned to Win FM 90.9. There you had it, an excerpt from the presentation by the Secretary General of CARICOM, Mr. Erwin Larocque, at the opening of the intersessional meeting held in the Marriott Hotel in Haiti.
Many dishes and many more.
Quicks cleans many dishes and many more.
Yes, Quicks cleans many dishes and many more.
Just one spoonful of concentrated Quicks cleans your whole sink full of dishes.
Squeaks, 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 clean.
Quicks means many, 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 many dishes and many, 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 many more.
Quicks, we wash more dishes.
Like us on Facebook, www.facebook.com/ramsupermarket. Follow us on Twitter, www.twitter.com/ramsupermarket. And subscribe to us on YouTube, www.youtube.com/ramsupermarket.
This public service announcement is brought to you by TDC Insurance Company Limited.
Dashboard warning lights indicate that something is wrong or about to go wrong with your vehicle. Here are a few lights you should not ignore: battery lights, brake lights, and coolant warning lights. If the battery light doesn't go off a few seconds after starting your engine, then there could be a problem with your vehicle's electric system and needs to be checked as soon as possible. The brakes on your vehicle are easily one of the most essential features on your vehicle. If you see this light, it means there is either a problem with the brake hydraulic system or brake fluid is low. The coolant warning light indicates that your coolant is low or your engine is overheating. If the temperature gauge is also reading red, then your engine is overheating. Stop the vehicle immediately to allow the engine to cool, then get a professional to address the problem.
This public service announcement was brought to you by TDC Insurance Company Limited.
TDCIC, guaranteeing you peace of mind.
I'll take a small.
Double XL! That's the size for me! Flo's new prepaid combo plans have the most choice and value for everyone. Save up to 90% by combining your talk, text, and data into one simple plan. And with options starting at just $19.99, it's easy to say it, type it, or share it. A whole lot more for a whole lot less. Dial *129# now to activate. The bigger you go, the bigger you save with Flo's new prepaid combo plans. This is how we flow.
You're tuned to Win FM. It's 90.9. Its voices. Our numbers are 466-0989, 662-0989, 762-0989. We're putting the spotlight on the recently held CARICOM Heads of Government Conference in Haiti. You heard moments ago from the Secretary General outlining some of the issues. Some of the issues I'm sure you would be aware of. The whole issue of correspondent banking, labeling of offshore financial industries in the region, while similar industries owned by the developed countries are not on the list. The need for a counter-terrorism strategy and the issue of increased cooperation in the fight against crime and violence, and now talk about the recovery of criminal assets across the region. So if you're in one CARICOM state and you commit a crime and you have proceeds of crime and you run to another CARICOM state, we're hearing now that you will not be, it will not be easy for you to just operate as if you have not had anything done that's against the law in a nearby territory. There'll be an effort to recover the criminal assets and, of course, the extradition of people who have run afoul of the law as well, very much on the cards. And Mr. Larocque calling as well for new thinking approaching the issues facing the region, especially with climate change. You need to build resilience and, of course, to improve development and growth in the Caribbean. It reminds me of what Mr. Bruce Golding, the former Prime Minister of Jamaica, had to say when he appeared on a University of West Indies forum to discuss the CARICOM Commission of Jamaica, looking at what has happened with the integration movement, how it's progressed, what are some of the issues. And he had a number of recommendations coming out from the Commission. I want to share those recommendations with you to put in perspective what are some of the issues that have been outstanding for quite some time, even as we bring the curtain down on another meeting of CARICOM Heads of Government.
Now, in terms of the recommendations we have made, some are not new. Some of them you will find in the West Indian Commission report of 1992. Some of them are to be found in several studies that have been done and thoughts that have been put forward by scholars and others. Some of them are to be found in reports that CARICOM itself has commissioned, but which reports are resting peacefully in filing cabinets somewhere. There are others that are new to the CARICOM concept, but they are based on proven success in other trade and integration arrangements. And some I would venture to suggest are unique and which were derived from our own experiences and and the identification of weaknesses that we feel need to be addressed. We spent a lot of time in the report focusing on macroeconomic convergence, which is the heavy lifting that no country in CARICOM has yet really looked at that and said, hey, this is something that we need to take on. You cannot have a single market and economy in an environment with a diversity of fiscal policies, monetary policies, foreign exchange regimes, debt management strategies. It just doesn't work. And we have not yet even stood up to confront that challenge and how we're going to deal with it. Things like a regional investment code, so that you don't end up with investors playing us off one against the other in terms of who is offering the better deal. The removal of restrictions and harmonization in terms of capital market, financial regulations, tax assessment, right of establishment. Simple things like and it's in the recommendation. If a Jamaican company wants to operate in other CARICOM countries, it has to register in each country. It can't go and say, well, here is my certificate of incorporation from Jamaica. No, you have to register here. Even the skill certificate that we now issue to workers. In many other countries, when you go and you present your skill certificate that you got from the Ministry of Labour here, they hand you a form that you have to go apply for one in the country that you're hoping to work in. We make some very harsh references to the misbehavior. You won't find that word in the report, but that is what it is. The misbehavior of COFAP, the Council for Finance and Planning. Because the question of macroeconomic convergence is really something that they are principally responsible for. They hardly ever meet. They're supposed to meet twice a year. That's what the treaty says. The last time they met was in 2013. There's another point we make in the report, and it's worth mentioning it here. Part of the problem with COFAP is that half of the ministers of finance were supposed to attend our prime ministers. And they figure, well, they won't bother attend that. They will wait for the heads of government. But as we point out, theirs is not a stellar record either. In this 43-year history of CARICOM, there were 73 regular, intersessional, and special meetings of heads of government. Only 6 of those have ever had the full attendance of heads, the last occasion being in 2003. Very often they send cabinet ministers. I have been to CARICOM meetings where the representative of a particular country or more than one country is a civil servant. Sometimes they don't send anybody at all. And we contrasted that with the experience of the G8 summits, where in its 42-year history, no head of government has ever been absent. Perhaps with the exception of 1 year when the Prime Minister of Japan died the week before the meeting was convened, and the Minister of Finance represented him. We also felt, in looking at macroeconomic convergence, that it would provide a framework with the appropriate standards, rules, would be imposing a kind of peer pressure that would restrain member states from going off the rails, which is something that so many of us have shown a tendency to do in the management of the economy. So that, in a sense, it would perhaps allow us to impose on ourselves the discipline that we find ourselves having to turn to the IMF to impose. We have made it clear in the recommendation that you cannot talk about a single market and economy unless you're prepared to allow people to move as freely as capital and goods. And we have said that that must be done, completed within the 5-year period. We have made recommendations to deal with this long-standing problem of governance. We recognize that CARICOM is a rule-based organization but has no effective means of securing compliance. We note the lack of sanction. There's only one reference in the whole CARICOM treaty for sanction, is when you don't pay your subscription, your right to vote can be impaired. And even that limited sanction has never been applied. So we have made recommendations for some serious sanctions. And I believe that some of those are going to be controversial. One of them, for example, is lack of access to policy-based loans from the CDB. We believe that that would concentrate the minds of countries wonderfully. And even though we had to discuss it very carefully because the CDB is not just ours. Shareholders of the CDB include some major countries across the world. The last one I think that came on board was China. So that their approval would have to be obtained. But we do feel that it is possible in the same way that CDB will say to a country, now these are policy-based loans, these are not loans to which you have an automatic entitlement. And the criteria for these loans are as follows. Included in those criteria we are suggesting could be a requirement that you are in conformity with the requirements of the CARICOM treaty. For historical and sheer practical reasons, we have stayed away from any consideration of a supranational authority, but what we have proposed is a tighter framework of intergovernmentalism. And importantly, we have recommended the establishment of an oversight body. And I tell you straight up, we were influenced in this by the success of our own epoch here in Jamaica. And we figured that we should have a body, we suggested, not less than 3, not more than 5 persons of stature, of eminence, of persons with knowledge of the Caribbean and the CARICOM process, who at least once a year would say to the public, we have assessed the performance of CARICOM, we have examined the compliance, the level of compliance of member states, and these are our findings. As a means of holding people to account. We have made recommendations about changes to the structure and organization of CARICOM. It's too loose, it's too fragmented, it's too unaccountable. We have suggested the need for rationalization because we believe that the number of institutions which continues to grow has been a victim of mission creep. We have seen where there is significant complementarity that would allow for some of them to be merged. We have made some very strong statements about the opacity of CARICOM, the lack of transparency. None of you could go on the web now and download CARICOM's budget. It's a classified document. No, and you couldn't do that for any of the other agencies. You may not have had a chance to read the report, but we were shocked. We spent a lot of time trying to get information from all the CARICOM agencies on their budgets, the subscription levels for each member state, and the level of arrears. And we got from all the institutions. When we couldn't hear from the Secretariat and we started harassing them, they refused. They said, sorry, but we can't divulge that information. So we said, but how can that be? We have got it from all of the other, from CARFA, from SEDEMA. We have that, it's just the Secretariat that is missing. And they sent back to us, and we have quoted it in the report, to say that if you have received information about the budgets, subscription and level of arrears, the Secretariat wishes to advise that that information is confidential and you are requested not to make it public. We said, but you can go on the website and get that identical information for the United Nations. You can see whether Jamaica is up to date in its subscription at the United Nations. And it is what the Landell Mills report in 2000.
All right, we seem to have a little interruption there. Let's see if we can resume some of that for you.
And we got from all the institutions. When we couldn't hear from the Secretariat and we started harassing them, they refused. They said, sorry, but we can't divulge that information. So we said, but how can that be? We have got it from all of the other, from CARFA, from SEDEMA. We have that. It's just the Secretariat that is missing. And they sent back to us, and we have quoted it in the report, to say that if you have received information about the budgets, subscription and level of arrears, the Secretariat wishes to advise that that information is confidential and you are requested not to make it public. We said, but you can go on the website and get that identical information for the United Nations. You can see whether Jamaica is up to date in its subscription at the United Nations. And it is what the Landell Mills report in 2012 referred to as the silo of confidentiality, which it urged must be dismantled if we are to really build trust in the organization. So we have made some strong recommendations there. We have recommended that all of the institutions be subjected to performance evaluation periodically. We suggested every 3 years. An important recommendation that I think we have made as well is for an Auditor General to audit not just the financial operations, but also the efficiency levels of the Secretariat and all the CARICOM institutions and bodies. Right now, there's a Director of Internal Audit in CARICOM, in the Secretariat. But she, and last time I checked, it was a woman who was there, she's only responsible for the internal financial arrangements of CARICOM. And she may be asked to go look at some other agency. But that is only if there's a special situation that arises. We were shocked to learn that some of these bodies had never produced audited financial statements. All that is produced are in-house financials, and people will look at it and so on. So there's need for a great deal of reorganizing, restructuring, holding people account. As we pointed out in the report, a major problem with the organization of CARICOM is that authority and responsibility are not aligned to ensure accountability.
The former Prime Minister of Jamaica, Mr. Bruce Golding, speaking of the recent forum organized by the University of West Indies, looking at the CARICOM Commission report for Jamaica, and raising some interesting issues and making some pointed recommendations. All right, we're going to change gears a bit. This morning we had a discussion about beach access again. It's been very much in the news. We thought we'd speak to a hotelier about some of those issues. We want to say a very good morning to Mr. Alistair Yarwood. Mr. Yarwood, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Becker.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you on board. I know a lot of our listeners may know you from the days when you used to be on Inside the News, but many others will know that you're also one of the owners of Wally Beach, one of the famous hotels on Nevis. Well, once again, welcome back to Win FM 98.9. I want to get your thoughts on this issue of beach access from the perspective of a citizen and the perspective of a hotelier. What are some of the pros and cons that you have looked at, and your own personal experience as well?
Okay, it's the problem with beach access is it's not defined. It's terribly vague. I get the feeling that a lot of the general public feel they have the right to drive onto the beach or drive directly to the beach and have parking. In most countries, there's parking somewhere and then there's foot access to the beach. I think it needs to be defined, number one, but in my personal opinion, there is a relatively simple solution, and it's a solution that would go on into the future, and that is our government spend all sorts of money on all sorts of schemes. However, I would recommend that what the government should do to preserve access to the general public on into the future is compulsory purchase of access and whatever adequate parking is needed on all of the beaches in the Federation. Now, some beaches are more heavily used, and therefore it will have to be a larger section. So, for instance, in Nevis, the government purchased Pinny's Estate, and they retained a 15-acre parcel for the public. I think that is brilliant. No, you're not going to need 15 acres on each beach, but Pinny's is the most heavily used by the general public and visitors alike. In Frigate Bay, the Frigate Bay Development Corporation, which is owned by the government, owns the strip. And so that has been used for local entrepreneurs and the general public. And that's also excellent. But I think it would be unreasonable to suggest that private ownership should earmark 5 acres of their land. They may only have 6 acres on the beach for public use. And so I think the government should actually acquire, whether it's a quarter acre, half acre, whatever, and put in beach facilities. You know, maybe a changing rooms and lavatories, but you don't have to have huge buildings and so on. And the other thing that fascinates me is this the existence of beach bars, and the general certain members of the public feeling they have the right to stick a commercial entity on the public beach. Well, if you do that, why can't I? And if every member of the general public wants to put a beach bar on one beach, we'll have to have multi-stories. You know, and a lot of these beach bars start up ad hoc. There's no control, there's no planning involved with it. So my recommendation to solve the problem would be a sensible, logical, compulsory purchase of beachfront lands for future generations. You don't have to buy the whole thing, but you need a piece.
Now, when it comes to the best possible use of the beaches, what are the ideas you have in mind in terms of should beaches be regulated? Should they be? Well, you mentioned the fact that you may want to have some services on the beach as well. The question will come up as to how do you pay for them? Is it going to be paid through taxation? Is it going to be paid through use? And of course, the whole issue of lifeguards, and if you're swimming in the sea and there are motorized vessels around, the issue of zoning. What are some of the other issues that you see there?
Well, again, the reality is that the beaches of Federation, when I was a small boy, you needed vehicles to get to most of the beaches. So, and there weren't that many vehicles around. So the number of people using the beach was much, much smaller than today. And this is using the beach for recreation. There were very few leisure boats, whether sailing or motorized. Now that has changed dramatically over time. And so now you have a competition for the near shore water and the beach, both from leisure boat activity and regular pedestrian beach users. And once you start getting that conflict, yes, you do need regulations. And you need regulations that will be policed. And so it's something that, the government, and that tends to be one of the biggest problems with our regulations is the policing and enforcing of them. But it's only a matter of time before the conflict of the near shore waters being used by specifically motorcraft and the regular beach users. It's going to end in tears if it's not regulated. So the time has come, and we don't have to do it on every beach right now because there's certain beaches that are used far more heavily. There's some beaches that are hardly ever used by the general public. But those that are being used by all parties concerned definitely need to be regulated.
If you were to go about, as, let's say, for want of a better term, a zoning exercise, how would you approach that?
Ouch. You're talking to somebody who's just, this is just my personal views. I think that the first thing to do would be to actually identify the beaches that have heavy use from the general public. And then those are the ones that would have to be dealt with. I don't think we should exclude leisure craft from the beach, and I don't think we should exclude the general public from the beach. However, they do have to be regulated. The policing of it, that will probably have to come from that would have to come from taxes. I'm not sure the general public would accept having to pay parking fees or something like that. You set up a car park for a beach. In many countries, you have to actually pay. But in fact, in most countries, to park anywhere, you have to pay. Even on the main road, they have parking meters. We've been very fortunate that we have lots of places we can park for free.
Indeed, and we're quite accustomed to the word free. And many of us would scream if we had to pay every time we parked. Now, well, thank you very much for that on the beach. Let me ask you a question about tourism now, general question. How is the industry changing to your mind? We speak about beachfront properties, of course, climate change, climate resilience, all that. From your neck of the woods, how do you see the industry evolving, let's say, in the context of the stay-over visitor, the bread and breakfast people, and, of course, the cruise arrivals?
I think I can speak from my observations on Nevis. The industry over here is maintaining its status. What we do lack is our year-round occupancy is diabolical. We have about 3 months, almost 4 months of the year where the occupancy is decent. But the hotels that stay open year-round hemorrhage cash flow in the summertime. And I would think that would be where we should concentrate our marketing. I think there should be a collective effort. It's probably more price conscious than anything else. And I know a lot of the establishments are very reticent to lower their prices in the off season, lower them to the rates that would attract the folks who are willing to travel in the summer. So we need to improve our year-round occupancy. One of the problems we suffer from in Nevis is critical mass. we probably only have about 450 hotel rooms on the island. And I think we need to almost double that. It's a catch-22. If you double it, it's definitely going to change the landscape in more ways than one, both physically and socially. And if we double the number of hotels on the island of Nevis, we may not have the labor force to facilitate them, which means we would need to increase the population. And usually the way population increases like that is through migration, which brings its own social problems and basically sparks island mentality tends to be xenophobic. So it's, as I said, it's a catch-22. But I think it would be nice to see it happen gradually. I don't want to see the hotel rooms double overnight. But I think it's something we should be aiming for. And that's where the government will come in, because it is the government's job to encourage investment. I also think it's the bank's job to encourage investment. And the banks are not very good at encouraging that. They make it almost impossible to open a bank account, let alone do business. So we definitely need development. On the cruise tourism side, I think St. Kitts is doing extremely well with that. A lot of people see a conflict between cruise and stayover. I personally don't. I believe that even if it's a small percentage of cruise passengers end up converting to stayover. We've had examples of that at Owali. The Business Foundation has had, because I get on well with the manager there, I've had examples of that. They visit the island first on a cruise ship and then decide to come back and end up visiting the island 10, 15 times. So I think we have to, the main thing is a holistic view. The cruise industry does put money into the local economy, and it's an essential part of tourism. The area that we in St. Kitts and Nevis have ignored is all forms of yachting. We now have a mega yacht marina, but the reality is we do not even consider the smaller yachts. Someone with a 50-foot sailboat, that 50-foot sailboat probably costs $500,000 US. So these people have money and they want to spend it. And if you look at islands like Antigua, I know that the yachting industry puts more direct government revenue. I'm not talking about how much money they spend in the supermarkets and in restaurants and bars. Puts more direct government revenue than the cruise industry does. And sadly, on St. Kitts and Nevis, we ignore this industry. We seem to be terrified of small piers and docks to facilitate this industry and to facilitate the leisure boating industry in general. So that is an area that would be relatively easy to develop. And you take the marina at Port Zante. That was built to facilitate yachtsmen. However, there's no room in there. The marina is full of local boats, so it shows that there's a need locally as well as for visiting boaters. So I would like to see more facilities for. I mean, we're an island surrounded by the ocean. We should be looking at the ocean for revenue, and we don't.
And finally, and thank you for that. Finally, for those tourists who actually come, are they changing demands, or is pretty much the same business?
No, it's the business has changed. What we find is that 20 years ago, people would book a holiday 6 months in advance, so you could predict your occupancy 6 months out. But the whole world has gone instant, and so what we're finding now is that people are booking later and later, closer and closer to the arrival date. So that has changed. The other thing is, I think our tourists now have, this is a broad brush. Some of them, not nowhere near, but there's a minority of people who sometimes have unreasonable expectations, and it's actually quite difficult to deal with that. Where just to put stars on it, let's say they're paying 3-star prices, and their expectation is 5-star service, and that may stem from the very cheap vacations available in other parts of the world, like the Far East. Although I think the prices over there are now starting to increase. So it's managing the expectations of your guests is becoming more difficult, and those expectations aren't necessarily reasonable.
Okay, Mr. Yarwood, thank you so much for talking to me today, and of course giving us your insight, the benefit of your expertise, and of course your experience. And of course we do expect to be talking to you pretty soon. We have some other issues we want to raise with you at another time. But thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us today and sharing your thoughts. Much appreciated.
Well, the final thing, Mr. Backus, is one of the very big positives of our product in St. Kitts and Nevis is we have a very, very, very high percentage of return visitors who come every single year. That's a very positive thing. What we have to do is get more of them.
I hear you. All right, thank you so much, and all the best to you and your staff.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye. All right, that's Mr. Alistair Yarwood there speaking to us. He's one of the owners of the Wally Beach, award-winning hotel on Nevis, talking a little bit about beach access and some of the issues of the industry, offering his insight and his expertise on today's edition of Voices.
We're different. We're 98.9. 98.9. Win FM. I'll take a small.
XXL, that's the size for me. Flo's new prepaid combo plans have the most choice and value for everyone. Save up to 90% by combining your talk, text, and data into one simple plan. And with options starting at just $19.99, it's easy to say it, type it, or share it. A whole lot more for a whole lot less. Dial *129# now to activate. The bigger you go, the bigger you save with Flo's new prepaid combo plans. This is how we flow.
You need new tires but don't know what to get. TDC can help.
Hi, I'm Goodyear. I ensure great handling and great braking in wet and dry conditions.
My name is Sunphone. My continuous block patterns enhances stability at high-speed cornering. Did someone say speed? Hi, I'm Torque. Pick me for great performance and stability.
Boys, I know exactly what they want. I'm Pressa. I'm the perfect fit for your SUV. Pick me and get the ultra-high performance with outstanding grip and traction regardless of the road conditions.
So which one of us are you gonna choose? For the most reliable, durable, high-performance tires, come to TDC Automotive Divisions. We'll help you choose from the best brands at the best prices.
Very good morning, caller. You're live and on the air. Go ahead, please.
Good morning to you, Mr. Bacchus.
Yes, good morning, sir. How are you doing?
I'm well, and good morning to your listeners home and abroad. Mr. Bacchus, I've been hearing some recording of the last CARICOM meeting, and I think that took place in Haiti. Mr. Bacchus, CARICOM, I think, is going in the right direction, however, a bit late, but even a bit late in the right direction. Mr. Bacchus, let me tell you something. You know, for years, I have emphasized on border security, border protection, cross-border activity. Crime are imported. And CARICOM appears as though they just catch up with it. Mr. Bacchus, there is an organization within CARICOM called Impasse. Most people, and I'll give it up to 90%, in St. Kitts Nevis, does not even understand that meaning. What is the function of Impasse? What is their responsibility? Mr. Bacchus, it is time that you, as manager of this radio station, Google Impasse, and after reading up on Impasse, invite either the Minister of National Security, Commissioner of Police, Control of Customs, Defense Force Chief, maybe somebody from the Health Department, the FIU, or somebody from NEMA to tell you what is their responsibility as it relates to border security and border protection and national security interests on a whole, because there's a whole lot as it relates to that organization within CARICOM. And to date, I have not heard not one person has explained to the people of this country what it is, what it's all about, and we are a member of CARICOM. So, Bacchus, have a nice day.
Thank you very much, sir. Well, you raised some interesting points, so we'll certainly see if we can do as you suggested and get some more information about that organization. All the issues observed by former Prime Minister of Jamaica, Bruce Golding, is, of course, the communication deficits that exist. The citizens of CARICOM know very little about some of the procedures, the monies involved, the evaluation of projects, and that, of course, is an issue because how are you going to participate in something you don't understand and you don't know? So your concerns are noted. We'll see what we can do. But certainly, the whole issue of silos being raised by Mr. Golding is very much alive and well. You can't get information that should be in the public domain easily. It seems like everything is a secret. It's classified. Don't know why it's classified, though. If you really want to have an integration movement with participation from people, you have to make information available to them so they can see the opportunities and the challenges as well and be in a position to make up their minds as to whether or not they're for it or against it. Well, thank you. We're going to take a break now to bring you the headline news. When we come back, we'll hear from you again on Voices.
Found the sound. 98.9. Win FM.
We now bring you the headline news. The headline news is brought to you by Caribbean Alliance, The Grange, KDP Enterprises, Samcare, Subway, Carib Brewery, and CNC Trading.
Come to Subway and eat fresh. Try our daily specials. That's right, we have a special every day at Subway. Come in today and eat fresh. Stay healthy.
I want it cold, blue and gold, real beer, one of a kind. When you dry, you can't deny one beer is on your mind. Carib. I need a real beer, yeah. I feel that special magic when I open the gold crown. Carib the beer for me, Carib the beer for you. Carib beer, you know we brew, beastly cold right on cue. Carib beer, you know it's true, it's a part of me, a part of you. Carib.
Real beer is Carib.
BioCare Lab says it's your hair, so wear it your way with Curls and Naturals Hair Care Solutions. Start it right with Curls and Naturals Texturizer Hair Softener. Infuse with Moroccan argan oil and maintain it with the Dream Curl Cream with honey and shea butter, all with daily moisturizing anti-fizz and shine serum. For locks and twists, nourish them with a curl defining custard and see them grow. It's your hair. Wear it your way with Curls and Naturals. A brand new you every day.
Curls and Natural, sold locally by CNC Trading on the CAP Southwell Industrial Site. Telephone 465-4081.
Protect your lifestyle with Caribbean Alliance Insurance. Tilly Wall with a local reputation and service we're second to none. Securing you is our mission. People that you can trust, your business, property, we got you covered. Motor or personal, whatever it is, we've got you covered. 130 years in this business, we've got you covered. For all your insurance needs, visit or call us at 465-2631 or 469-5303. Delia Walwyn, people you can trust.
Shipping your cargo shouldn't be a hassle. It can be as easy as a single call to Amerijet International, your worldwide cargo transportation solution. We provide all the services you need to ship your goods anywhere in the world. Whether your shipment is fresh, frozen, large or small, alive or hazardous, you can count on Amerijet to deliver it safe and sound. Amerijet International, by land, sea or air. We get it there. For more information, visit us online at www.amerijet.com or call us at KDP Enterprises, telephone number 466-9595.
Did you know that the Grange Healthcare Facility is the first purpose-built non-governmental healthcare organization on St. Kitts, offering 24-hour nursing, therapeutic, and residential care for older adults? It's situated at Otley, 7 miles east of Vastair in beautifully landscaped surroundings. The Grange has a team of highly trained professionals and provides care that's rated as being comparable with UK and North American standards. The Grange offers varied accommodation to suit your individual needs, and our all-inclusive packages make the cost of care per hour the most competitive on the island. Services include convalescent care for all ages, daycare facilities for older adults, rehabilitation services, and training and continuing education for healthcare providers. For more information, call 466-5525 or 465-8020, fax 466-8221, or email thegrangehealth@gmail.com, or visit our website at www.grangehealthcarefacility.com.
Kevin Dyer of Wingfield Road, Old Road, has been charged with dangerous driving in the accident in Frigate Bay on Friday that sent 3 tourists and a taxi driver to the hospital. Dyer was charged on Monday. He was the driver of motorbus P4608, owned by Island Purified Water. Police investigations revealed that Dyer was traveling from Frigate Bay towards Bastair, and the taxi bus TA22, which is owned and was being driven by Agatha Adams of St. Peter's, was traveling in the opposite direction. Some distance before reaching the second roundabout, when heading towards Bastair, Dyer attempted to overtake a vehicle and collided with the right side of the taxi. Fire and rescue services had to use the jaws of life to extricate some of the occupants of the taxi, while the delivery bus driver was able to exit his vehicle unassisted. The 2 female and 1 male tourists who had just arrived on the island and the taxi driver were taken to the hospital via EMS units. WinFM understands that fortunately, the accident victims only sustained bumps and bruises and have since been discharged from the hospital. Police investigations into the matter are ongoing. Crime continues to affect every facet of the economies in the region, and the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank is suggesting at least one way to help curb certain crimes: use less cash in our transactions. ECCB Governor Timothy Antwine.
A lot of the issues with crime is multifaceted. Therefore, there are many ingredients in finding a solution on the demand side, on the supply side, on law enforcement, and so on. There are some things the ECCB cannot do, obviously. One of the things that we can do and feel we ought to do is to harden the financial system against crime. And one of the ways that we will have to do that is to reduce our use of cash. At the moment, as far as we can tell, 70 to 80% of all purchases in the currency union are done by cash or checks. 70 to 80%. In the most cashless country, which I think is Belgium, that number is 7%. 7%, we had 70 or 80%. So the question I have is, what will it take for us to reduce our use of cash by 50% over the next 5 years? What will it take? It will make us a safer region. It will make transactions faster. And how will we do that? By using what everybody has these days, smartphones. So we believe that the technology is available for us to use electronic and digital means to make payments. Most tourists who come to our countries now, they're not walking around with a lot of US or EC cash. They don't have the time, or they don't want to have to carry cash. They want to be able to pay via a card or via their phones. So from a competitiveness standpoint, it makes sense. But I'm also arguing that it can help reduce crime. I'm not saying that is a solution by itself. It is not. But I certainly think when you ask me what the ECCB can do, I am saying that is one of the things we can do. It will help harden the financial sector, and it will also improve our competitiveness. And therefore, that is something we strongly want to recommend.
Governor Antoine said the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union territories through the ECCB are looking to go the route most of the bigger economies are already on, blockchain technology. This could see the EC dollar going digital and also the introduction of cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin.
Part of our strategic plan, we are in fact pursuing a pilot on blockchain technology. And one of the reasons why we're doing that is there are three problems we're trying to see if they can help us with blockchain technology, that is. One, can it help us with de-risking, the loss of correspondent bank relations? Two, can it help to speed up payments and transfers? And three, can we use it as a digital currency? So we could have a digital EC dollar in circulation that allows us to do business far more freely than we do it now.
More and more international banks around the world are turning to blockchain technology, which, because it's far less expensive and the transactions are significantly faster, is being touted as the next big revolution in the banking industry. The issue of increasing bank charges and fees remains a concern for citizens across the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union, one the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank continues to work along with commercial banks to address. ECCB Governor Timothy Antoine said the regulatory body continues to discuss with local banks how they can possibly reduce these high fees.
The Monetary Council is aware of this issue, and as a central bank, we are working to come up with some recommendations for how we could manage, minimize bank fees and charges. Note I said minimize, not eliminate.
The ECCB governor explained why bank fees and charges are not going anywhere anytime soon. He says it's how the banks make money in order to cover their operational costs, which are also on the rise.
One of the things we have to understand is what is driving those fees and charges. What is driving it? Compliance costs for anti-money laundering and combating finance of terrorism. Those are imperatives imposed not on the banks, not even by the ECCB, but by the international community. Global Forum, the Financial Action Task Force, and of course, certain things in the US and other places. So those compliance costs are real. Dealing with cybersecurity and countering fraud, those are costs which are being borne. And the challenge is that in these small banks, these national banks, they are bearing them alone. They are not like an international bank that can share the costs across multiple branches in multiple countries. What you have is a situation where you are expecting world-class service from Bank of Montserrat, for example, but Bank of Montserrat has to bear all of these costs on its own. And evidently, it is now finding that it has to pass on some of these costs. That is true of many indigenous banks in the ECCU.
The central bank continues to advocate for consolidation between the commercial banks to help reduce fees and administrative costs.
One of the things we have been advocating and we continue to advocate is for consolidation at two levels. Shared services. So for example, some commercial banks are now considering sharing services such as internal audit, risk management, IT. all aimed at reducing the costs. And to the extent that they reduce this cost, it becomes cheaper to provide to you, the customer. If they absorb the cost all alone, then they have to pass it on to somebody, and that's going to be the customer. Many of our national banks have begun the conversation about shared services that can help lower the cost. And to the extent that they do that, they will improve their profitability, but also, reduce some of the pressures for bank fees and charges that we're seeing. But it's a very topical issue, and I assure you the Monetary Council is very concerned and focused on that. So we continue to look at this issue, looking to see if we could find low-cost, no-cost options to provide to the customers in our banks.
In July 2017, the ECCB Monetary Council approved the publication of the selected fees and charges by bank and territory on the ECCB website, and from February this year, customers of commercial banks operating in the ECCU can now access the schedule of selected fees and charges by the respective banks. According to the ECCB, the publication of the schedule of fees and charges is expected to 1. Provide customers with information on fees charged by all ECCU commercial banks, 2. Increase the public's ability to make informed decisions about their banking options, and 3. Enable banks and customers to conduct comparative market surveys within the industry more easily.
Senior Minister in the federal government with responsibility for labor, the Honorable Vance Amri, has appealed to nationals to capitalize on the services offered by the Department of Labor, whether it is from an employer or employee perspective. Amri made his remarks in the wake of a job expo that was held in Independence Square on February 23rd. The expo was designed to facilitate networking between places that offer employment opportunities and those who are seeking employment.
The Department of Labor is here because we have become, in a way, the repository of information from both sides. We act as a repository of persons who need jobs. They can bring their qualifications, bring their jobs they would like to see, the skills they have. We have the same thing on the employer side. If they have opportunities, we ask them to send us the jobs which are available so we can match the demand with the supply and get people employed and occupied.
The Minister with responsibility for labor said he was satisfied with his ministry's ability to facilitate such a venture and to provide positive channels for those who are unemployed. He also revealed a commitment to making the expo an annual event. Amri challenged young people to not only cultivate creative initiatives, but encourage them to seek partnerships with various financial institutions.
What it does is it shows the young people that you have an idea, you can go to an institution like the Development Bank. If you have qualifications that you're not employed, you could go and look at what the other private sector partners are offering. The Park Hyatt, the Marriott, the Jacta, all of the hotels. If you need to go to the further study, you have opportunities to go and talk with the persons in charge of those institutions. If you want to do technical work, advocacy. So it is really a complete attempt to catch all of the opportunities which exist.
The objective of the Job Expo was to open doors to create opportunities and to empower young people.
We now bring you this report from Antigua's Observer Radio.
Political candidates running for the constituency of Barbuda in next month's general election will have to register in Barbuda on nomination day, according to the Electoral Commission. This is important to note because just yesterday, a row over where constituents of Barbuda will vote made its way to the law court, with the Barbuda People's Movement filing for an injunction to stop the Electoral Commission from relocating the constituency to Antigua. The Commission's PRO, Elisa Graham, said this morning on Observer AM that unlike with the casting of votes, the nomination process for Barbuda must take place there. And the political hopefuls are to be nominated at the McChesney George Secondary School.
The law allows for the nomination to take place within the constituencies. So if it does not take place within the constituencies, then basically we will be in breach of the law.
Nomination day is Monday, March 5th.
This report now from the BBC.
The European Union is about to publish its first draft of a treaty setting out the terms of Britain's withdrawal. It will put forward proposals for the future of the Irish border, which are likely to cause problems with London. President Trump's son-in-law and senior advisor Jared Kushner has had his White House security clearance downgraded. It's thought his complicated business dealings may have led to the change in his security status. There are many Indians paying their last respects to Bollywood idol Sridevi Kapoor ahead of today's funeral. The 54-year-old drowned in a bath after losing consciousness. And snow and sub-zero temperatures continue to cause major disruption across Europe. Here in the UK, more than 500 schools are closed, with driving conditions described as treacherous. And forecasters say the worst is yet to come.
This is the Carib Update News Service and reporting. I am Oslin Crosby. Regional pollster weighs in on early election in Antigua. This is the big story we are tracking this hour. Edition of Newsbreak for Wednesday, February 28th, 2018.
Come and experience fun, meet amazing people, and enjoy fantastic food at the 22nd Annual St. Kitts Music Festival. 5 days of festivities from June 27th to July 1st of 2018, with main stage performances from the 28th to the 30th. Here's the first wave of confirmed acts. The legendary Patti LaBelle, Queen of Dancehall, Spice, Miss Lauryn Hill. Many more acts to be announced. Book now and save the date. For more information, log on to StKittsMusicFestival.net. The St. Kitts Music Festival, an experience like no other.
Now for the details. Regional pollster Peter Wickham has predicted a win for the incumbent Antigua and Barbuda Labour Party in the upcoming March 21st general elections. According to Wickham, the ABLP has maintained its support at only a 1% swing away from the party, as opposed to the main opposition United Progressive Party, who lost 3% of its support. Wickham said the formation of the Democratic National Alliance had a greater impact on the UPP than the ABLP, highlighting an increase in support for the DNA and its leader, Joanne Messiah.
What we found now is that the DNA support has grown to 5%. The thing that struck me about the DNA support, though, is that while the DNA only has support 5% nationally, the DNA leadership, which is Ms. Messiah, she actually has 10% support nationally.
A recent poll by the cadre's director revealed that 35% of those polled were either unsure or unwilling to reveal which party they support. Wickham said while this trend is consistent with previous poll, the power of a vote should not be underestimated. He said that the UPP could use this trend to its advantage by focusing on reducing the cost of living.
What I found in Caribbean is that a lot of people who don't vote on election day because they don't think it will necessarily make a difference or they couldn't be bothered. And I think that that's something actually that the ABLP needs to be concerned about, that an environment is not created where people feel that an election that has been called has been won, and there's really no need to go to vote because the polls are showing so convincingly that they're going to win, because that is a sure recipe to ensure that the UPP gets back in office.
Nomination day in Antigua will be on March 5th. Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro on Tuesday officially lodged his candidacy in a snap April 22nd presidential election boycotted by the opposition. His tilt at another 6-year mandate risk deepening debt-ridden Venezuela's international isolation, with the United States and big Latin American countries rejecting the validity of the upcoming vote. Maduro, a 55-year-old former bus driver and union leader, visited the tomb of his late mentor and predecessor Hugo Chavez before going to the National Electoral Council to formally sign his candidacy. The opposition Democratic Unity Roundtable, known by its initials in Spanish as MUD, which controls the current legislature, rejects the election as a fraudulent show after its leader most likely to beat Maduro's were barred from running.
The government of St. Kitts has asked for time to respond to the affidavits filed by opposition leader Denzel Douglas to have charges filed by the Attorney General Vincent Byron that he should be barred from Parliament dismissed. The government is claiming that Douglas has dual citizenship since he has a diplomatic passport for Dominica. The Attorney General had moved to have the court rule that Douglas had violated the Constitution by swearing or acknowledging allegiance to a foreign country and should be barred from serving as a parliamentarian, a claim Douglas has strongly denied. Attorney Sylvester Anthony is representing the opposition leader in the matter.
So the court has made an order giving the claimants additional time to file a responding affidavit. We have reserved the right to file additional affidavits in the event that any new evidence is introduced in their responding affidavits.
Kittitian-based attorney Sylvester Anthony. This is Newsbreak from the Carib Update News Service. In more news, United States oil giant ExxonMobil has found even more oil offshore Guyana, but a company spokesman would not be drawn into comment about the amount found. Spokeswoman Kimberly Brassington confirmed an announcement early Tuesday by Minister of Natural Resources that there has been another major oil find. She said the Paroka well, where the latest oil deposit has been found, is located about 4 miles northwest of the Pariah 1 well. Last month, the company said the Ranger 1 well, which contains 230 feet, 70 meters of high-quality oil-bearing carbonate reservoir, barring Wednesday morning's scheduled announcement of the details of Pecora. The company said it has so far found 3.2 billion barrels of oil from 6 wells, as at the 6.6 million-acre Stabroek block. The Minister of Natural Resources labeled as an excellent record the work of the drill ship Stena Carron. This has been another edition of Newsbreak from the Carib Update News Service, the Caribbean's newsroom. Reporting, I'm Oslin Crosby.
I'm Marshall with the BBC News. Britain has rejected the EU's draft of the legal framework for Britain's departure from the bloc, saying it would threaten its constitutional integrity. The draft, published in Brussels by the EU's chief negotiator Michel Barnier, includes a proposal for a common regulatory area across the island of Ireland. Here's our political correspondent, Rob Watson.
Theresa May has quite clearly said she will not sign this treaty as it stands, and that seems to me that either a couple of things could happen. It means that maybe some clever lawyers could try and rewrite it all in a way that satisfied Brussels and the UK. It could be that the UK government would hope that perhaps some of the other 27 EU member states could sort of water it down a little bit. But there's no doubt, I mean, this is a genuine crisis. This isn't theoretical. This is, what do you do about that border?
The Afghan President Ashraf Ghani has offered peace talks with the Taliban without any preconditions. A Taliban spokesman told the BBC they were waiting for reaction from their leadership. Zia Shahriar reports from Kabul.
President Ghani said his government was ready to recognize the Taliban as a political group, release Taliban prisoners and review the Afghan constitution as part of a peace deal to end 16 years of war in the country. The comments represented a significant shift for Mr. Ghani, who in the past has regularly called the Taliban terrorists and rebels. On Monday, the Taliban offered peace negotiations directly with Washington, sidestepping the government in Kabul. The US has been stepping up its military assistance to Afghanistan with the aim of breaking a stalemate with the insurgents and forcing them to the negotiating table.
Russia says the International Olympic Committee has lifted its suspension over doping allegations. The head of the Russian Olympic Committee said Russia's full membership and rights had been reinstated. On Sunday, the IOC voted to lift Russia's ban if no more of its athletes tested positive in drugs tests, following the Winter Olympics in Pyeongchang. For a second day, a 5-hour truce has failed to halt fighting between Syrian government forces and rebels in the enclave of Eastern Ghouta. Hundreds of people have been killed in days of attacks. Yona Nell reports.
The Russian plan of setting up daily truces was supposed to be to get aid into rebel-held Eastern Ghouta and to allow residents to leave. But so far, that's not happening. The Syrian Observatory for Human Rights says government airstrikes and artillery fire did stop at about 9 o'clock local time, although some clashes continued on the ground. Later, 2 opposition media groups reported missile strikes and barrel bombs. Russia and the Syrian government blame the rebels for the failure to pause the fighting. The main rebel groups and locals call for the UN Security Council's demand for a 30-day ceasefire across Syria to be implemented instead.
World News from the BBC. Pupils at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Florida have made an emotional return to class 2 weeks after a former student murdered 17 people on campus in one of America's most deadly mass shootings. The time since has been marked by relentless student activism for stricter gun controls. A local leader of India's governing Bharatiya Janata Party has surrendered after allegedly running over and killing 9 school children in the eastern state of Bihar. And Barasan Etirajan has the details.
Police say the accused Manoj Baita was driving a speeding vehicle which ploughed into a group of students outside their school. Mr. Baita would deny the allegations had been on the run since the incident. Indian media reports said Mr. Baita had lost control of the vehicle after running down and injuring a woman near the school. The deaths of so many school children have shocked India, which registers the highest number of road fatalities in the world.
There are conflicting reports over how many people are missing after a convoy of boats sank on the Congo River. The government of the Democratic Republic of Congo says at least 14 people are missing and 108 survived Tuesday's accident in Bandundu province. But a politician fears hundreds of people are still unaccounted for. He's called on the government to carry out a search and rescue operation. Thousands of fans and several Bollywood actors have paid their final respects to the film star Sridevi Kapoor, who died at the weekend in Dubai. Huge crowds of mourners, some carrying roses, others holding photos of the late actress, lined the streets of Mumbai to see their beloved idol embark on her last journey. She was cremated with full state honours. Police in the Emirates said the 54-year-old Indian actress died of accidental drowning in the bath after losing consciousness. Sridevi was considered one of the most influential Bollywood actresses of all time. BBC News.
The Headline News was brought to you by Caribbean Alliance, The Grange, KDP Enterprises, FamCare, Subway, Carib Brewery, and CNC Trading.
Did you know that the Grange Healthcare Facility is the first purpose-built non-governmental healthcare organization on St. Kitts, offering 24-hour nursing, therapeutic and residential care for older adults? It's situated at Otley, 7 miles east of Vastair in beautifully landscaped surroundings. The Grange has a team of highly trained professionals and provides care that's rated as being comparable with UK and North American standards. The Grange offers varied accommodation to suit your individual needs, and our all-inclusive packages make the cost of care per hour the most competitive on the island. Services include convalescent care for all ages, daycare facilities for older adults, rehabilitation services, and training and continuing education for healthcare providers. For more information, call 466-5525 or 465-8020, fax 466-8221, or email thegrangehealth@gmail.com, or visit our website at www.grangehealthcarefacility.com.
Shipping your cargo shouldn't be a hassle. It can be as easy as a single call to Amerijet International, your worldwide cargo transportation solution. We provide all the services you need to ship your goods anywhere in the world. Whether your shipment is fresh, frozen, large or small, alive or hazardous, you can count on Amerijet to deliver it safe and sound. Amerijet International, by land, sea or air. We get it there. For more information, visit us online at www.amerijet.com or call us at KDP Enterprises, telephone number 466-9595.
Protect your lifestyle with Caribbean Alliance Insurance. Daily Wall with a local reputation and service for second to none. Securing you is our mission. People that you can trust, your business, property, we got you covered. Motor or personal, whatever it is, we've got you covered. 130 years in this business, we've got you covered. For all your insurance needs, visit or call us at 465-2631 or 469-5303. Dealey Walwyn, people you can trust.
Is your hair thinning, shedding, or breaking? BioCare Labs has researched the causes of split ends, thinning, dry, and brittle hair and has developed a product to solve these weak hair problems. We call it Strong Ends Products. If you desire to grow strong, healthy hair, Strong Ends Products is your solution. Formulated with potent natural ingredients like honey and shea butter to deposit and retain moisture, castor and almond oil for scalp and roots, and aloe vera and coconut milk for strength. Try the full line of Strong Ends hair products and grow healthy, beautiful hair.
Strong Ends, sold locally by CNC Trading on the CAP Southwell Industrial Site. Telephone 465-4081.
I want it cold, blue and gold, real beer, one of a kind. When you dry, you can't deny one beer is on your mind. Carib. I need a real beer, yeah. I feel that special magic when I open the gold crown. Carib the beer for me, Carib the beer for you. Carib beer, you know we brew, beastly cold right on cue. Carib beer, you know it's true, it's a part of me, a part of you. Carib.
Real beer is Carib. Come to Subway and eat fresh. Try our daily specials. That's right, we have a special every day at Subway. Come in today and eat fresh. Stay healthy.
Win FM weather.
You need new tires but don't know what to get. TDC can help.
Hi, I'm Goodyear. I ensure great handling and great braking in wet and dry conditions.
My name is Sunphone. My continuous block patterns enhances stability at high speed cornering. Did someone say speed? Hi, I'm Torque. Pick me for great performance and stability.
Boys, I know exactly what they want. I'm Pressa. I'm the perfect fit for your SUV. Pick me and get the ultra-high performance with outstanding grip and traction regardless of the road conditions.
So which one of us are you gonna choose? For the most reliable, durable, high-performance tires, come to TDC Automotive Divisions. We'll help you choose from the best brands at the best prices.
When is the last time that you've had lunch or dinner away from home? The ambience of Sweet Cane on Port Zante provides you with that touch. Sweet Cane daily specials include burgers, wraps, soup, and tasty seafood dishes. Sweet Cane also caters for events and special parties. Call our Sweet Cane hotline at 465-4345 or 665-7628. Sweet Cane, they've got the touch.
Win FM weather.
Let's take a look now at your weather forecast for today. Well, mostly sunny conditions, we're told. Some passing showers. Tonight will be cloudy as well. And winds east-northeasterly at 7 to 22 kilometers per hour, 4 to 12 knots. Seas moderate. You're going to have some waves of 1.5 to 2.1 meters or 5 to 7 feet high. So if you're going out to sea, do be careful. Sunset today at 17 minutes after 6 o'clock, 28 minutes after 6 sunrise tomorrow. Today's temperature high of 88 degrees Fahrenheit, that's 31 degrees Celsius. A low of 72 degrees Fahrenheit, that's 22 degrees Celsius. That is your weather forecast for today. Mostly sunny conditions, but do exercise caution if you're going out to sea. Today's weather forecast came to you with the very best wishes of Sweet Cane and TDC.
When is the last time that you've had lunch or dinner away from home? The ambience of Sweet Cane on Port Zante provides you with that touch. Sweet Cane daily specials include burgers, wraps, soup, and tasty seafood dishes. Sweet Cane also caters for events and special parties. Call our Sweet Cane hotline at 465-4345 or 665-7628. Sweet Cane, they've got the touch.
Imagine a place that has all that you need, all of the things for your business to succeed. Furniture, copiers, laptops and more. TDC Business Center is your #1 store. Print and copy and scan and fax. Our copy center does all of that. If you're having a party and you need chairs and tents, we've got all your needs at Grand Rentals for rent. The TDC Business Center has everything your business needs. Superior copy and printing services,
business equipment and furniture, and a wide array of renting materials for all occasions. TDC Business Center, providing solutions that work.
Found the sound 98.9 FM.
Well, a very good afternoon to you. Welcome to the second half of Voices for today. A very good afternoon. You're live and on the air.
Good afternoon, Mr. Backus.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon.
Yes. If I may comment on some of the issues raised this morning.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Firstly, I, for one, am increasingly disillusioned with CARICOM. That organization needs whipping into shape. You know, all the leaders seem to be doing their own thing, and there's no pressure for them to do otherwise. Right? And there's no one leader in the region who has the influence like, let's say, Angela Merkel, who can steer that organization into the direction that it needs to go, right? Until we get somebody like that, we always have some demagogue or spoiler coming with their own agenda or somebody else's agenda. For it seems like the Prime Minister of Jamaica has taken the role of surrogate, U.S. surrogate, like what Siaga did. Okay? With regards our beaches, I think one beach full of shacks is more than enough. We should not be trying to duplicate the Strip. Our beaches should be, well, they should remain pristine. You know, we don't have a lot of them in the first place. We should absolutely regulate commercial activity on our beaches and preserve public access to them, right? All of this can be achieved if the authorities put appropriate systems in place and enforce existing laws, right? If the authorities would share development plans with the public before their commencement, we would not have a lot of the outcry regarding our beaches that we have, right? And I don't understand why it's so difficult for them to do that. Okay, I wanted to comment on your Inside the News program as well, right? I mean, that was a riveting program, really. And congratulations on finally getting a panel like that, you know. We had 4 potential prime ministers in waiting at the same table, right? From my perspective, the discussions vindicated what the Prime Minister called my pet project, and that is being an advocate for good governance. Because all the panelists identified it as our main failing. They articulated it in different ways, but the conclusion to me was clear, that the lack of good governance was the downfall of successive administrations, and it may well lead to the demise of the current one. For though even the Prime Minister acknowledges that that was the reason for Team Unity's success in the last general election, he seems unable to take the corrective action that is required. Specifically about the debate, I was surprised that General Powell tried to pick a fight with Dr. Jew on his historical analysis, showing the Labour Party's, superiority in performance compared with the other parties. Right? There's no way a Unity or PAM administration can match the achievements of the Labour Party. Right? The Labour Party has been in power for longer periods, not because it was around the longest, but because it has always been a party grounded in a philosophy of looking after the masses. And its policies and accomplishments on things like education, health, and social and economic mobility were always more consequential than the opponents. Okay, I mean, how can you top accomplishments like adult suffrage and trade union representation, you know, social security, you know, economic diversification, universal secondary education, you know, nationalization of the sugar lands, and more recently, the housing revolution, and programs like the CBI and the SIDF that radically changed our landscapes, right? And they continue to be pillars of our economy until this day. Okay, these were fundamental things that dwarf anything that Paman Unity has been able to do thus far. Right? So John's attempt to compare parties' achievements was somewhat suicidal. You know, it was always going to be a losing battle. Troy Liburd was intuitive enough to realize this and acknowledge it and try to steer the debate to more recent comparisons. And if I were he, I would have argued that even though the Labour Party has a superior legacy, in a democracy, we should always have choice, so that when it becomes necessary to do things like drain the swamp or kick the bums out, as the US say, when they get too big for their britches, we have an alternative. We need an alternative, right? No one set of elites should be entitled to govern, right? Troy Libur's assertion to that Nevis is now better off should have been more vigorously challenged, I find, right? I mean, any objective observer would tell you that there is no difference in living standards and infrastructure between St. Kitts and Nevis. In fact, some say Nevisians have a higher standard of living. And it's unfortunate that in 2018, a young Nevisian politician would continue to perpetuate the myth that Kittitians marginalize Nevisians. Nevis does not have the symptoms of a neglected, marginalized island, right? He should have been talking more about ways to permanently deal with the St. Kitts-Nevis relations, other than the short-sighted transactional marriage of convenience that we now have, right? I mean, if the new standard of governance for Nevis becomes how much it can get from the federal government, I mean, it's sure to create a backlash in St. Kitts, right? And that same dynamic that he spoke of, that propelled the CCM to a second term, may well spell doom for the unity government, okay, which of course he supports. Listeners, too, should not be distracted by all the huffing and puffing and chest beating and the back and forth. You know, I want to emphasize that because we have never had a problem with economics. We have always made solid, steady progress on that front. And by and large, the major parties pursue the same economic and social policies. You know, I looked at our growth rate, the growth rate figures from 1980 to 2017, and what was instructive is that our economy registered negative growth due to things like hurricanes and the world economic environment, but successive governments took the corrective action necessary. And yes, some of these were painful, but we always bounce back, okay? Bounce back stronger. And by the way, we had negative growth on the People's Action Movement as well, okay? It didn't just happen in 2009. Even after the recent change of administration, there were not even a change of budget in 2015, right? Which goes to show that it's pretty much the same policies, and it's just a continuation of the same. So I would reiterate that our problem was never economics. Our problem has always been and continue to be political, right? The relationship between our islands, the relationship between our parties and our people, how resources are shared and distributed between our parties, and you know, constitutional arrangements, freedoms and rights. In short, it's governance. That's it, right? And the parties and the politicians, they may try to distract and deceive and confuse us with project rollouts and grandiose plans. You know, they try to bamboozle us with stats and all kinds of stuff. I think that's all a waste of time. We will always have projects and improvements. It's the least any decent, self-respecting government can do for its citizens. And so we should stop being impressed by these basic things. You know,
let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question. You mentioned governance. On the road to governance, what do you see as perhaps 2 or 3 of the major steps required to improve governance in St. Kitts and Nevis and the wider Caribbean?
The interesting thing, Mr. Backus, is that they know what they are. You know, they actually put them down in the manifestos. It's there for everybody to see. It's getting them to implement it that is the problem. It's not that we don't know what to do, you know. It's just that we don't have the will to do it. That's the problem. It's written in black and white there, right? But I was saying basically we should stop being impressed with things like piers and roads and schools and the like. You know, that's for countries who are backward and basket cases. We are no longer there, right? And so you know, I listened to all four politicians, as a matter of fact, claim how we were number one in so many things. I mean, it was mind-boggling. And I thought to myself, it will be hell to pay if we drop to number two in any indicator by the time elections come around, right? Team Unity will have a lot of explaining to do. So both sides seem to be making number one as the new benchmark, okay? So, but what we're definitely not number one in is governance, right? And the thing is, there's no manifestation of it, and the tentative steps like the re-engineered pact does not give any confidence that anything of consequence will happen anytime soon, right? Which is strange, okay, because even the Prime Minister has acknowledged that unity is in power because of poor governance by his predecessor, okay? Well, Mr. Backus, I don't know. I'm sure you did logic. You could help me to understand if the previous government lost an election because they were doing A and not doing B, why would the unity winners do more of A and not B? You know, it just doesn't make sense unless you want to be suicidal too. Okay, so you know, the unity talking point now seems to be we have 5 years, we will get it done. Well, not even their own supporters are buying that anymore, right? The previous government tried a stunt like that by waiting till the last minute to do some to dip their fingers in the good governance legislation. The electorate was not impressed, and I don't think the electorate will be impressed if this government, this current government, do the same and, you know, just before an election, you know, give some token thing about good, saying that they have good governance, right? And I don't like how they're planning to redefine it either. You shouldn't. It's clear what they need to do. They've put it in their manifesto. They'll follow through with it. You know, that's what I think.
All right. Thank you very much for your contribution. Much appreciated. All right. Thank you. You listen to Winner Family's 90.9. It's Voices.
Ready when you're ready. Ready to build? Ready to construct? Well, if you're ready, then we're ready. Ready when you're ready. From roads to foundation, Portsmouth's Building Center is ready to organize and deliver the highest quality ready-mix concrete for your residential, commercial, or industrial projects. Call 465-2262, extension 1187, or 664-2640. And let us organize and deliver ready-mix concrete when you're ready. Ready when you're ready. Portsmouth's ready-mix concrete, ready when you ready. Ready when you're ready.
How does it feel when you got that feeling? You got the flavor you love. How does it feel when you know you're not dreaming? There is nothing above.
How you feel when things come together? How you feel when everything nice? How you feel when you savor the flavor, the feeling you get when you taste every bite?
So good when you get so nice. So good it tastes just right. So good the place to be. So good it's KFC.
I'll take a small.
XXL, that's the size for me. Flo's new prepaid combo plans have the most choice and value for everyone. Save up to 90% by combining your talk, text, and data into one simple plan. And with options starting at just $19.99, it's easy to say it, type it, or share it. A whole lot more for a whole lot less. Dial *129# now to activate. The bigger you go, the bigger you save with Flo's new prepaid combo plans. This is how we flow.
Shopping is a lot easier with Quartz Ready Finance. Choose what you want from our wide range of quality products, and we take care of the rest. Quartz Ready Finance's affordability means there's no deposit. There's no need for a lump sum of cash. It's flexible, which means you choose your payment term and you're guaranteed the lowest monthly payments anywhere. Best of all, it's easy. Easy to get and easy to pay. Shop at Quartz today and get what you want hassle-free. Quartz Ready Finance. Easy, affordable, flexible.
that I go through, man.
You're live on Will FM. Go ahead, please. All right, we seem to have missed that caller. All right, so do call back. 466-0989. 662-0989, 762-0989. Those are our numbers. You're having a difficulty with 466, do try 662-0989 or 762-0989. Call you live and on the air. Good morning. Oh, sorry. Good afternoon.
In the name of our great African ancestors, especially, excuse me, the most honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey and Queen Nzinga. Blessed afternoon, my brother. How are you?
I'm doing fine. How are you doing?
I'm good, brother. I'm just here listening. You know, I just tuned in just before the previous caller. Now, my brother, let me ask you a question to set the foundation for my, issue at hand. And I got some other things too, because the caller before me get a very long time. I hope that is afforded to me and others too. Now, okay, they showed the program that you had on Saturday. How come, you there, brother?
Yes, of course, I'm listening to you.
Okay, sorry, yes, I'm clicking. How come I didn't hear Sister Byron from the PLP, no young person from the NRP? What was the reason for that?
Well, we invited Team Unity to send representatives. We invited the St. Kitts Civil Labour Party, and we had 2 representatives from the Team Unity and 2 from the SKNLP.
So what's about none from the NRP? Nobody? You didn't?
I don't think anybody from the NRP was necessarily invited. No, I think it was the SKNLP. They were invited as well as the Team Unity administration.
No, but I don't think that was there. At least you could think NRP, you know. I mean, the PLP, I see your argument to that, but what happened to the NRP? I mean, I'm not a supporter, but fear must be fear. How could you have 2 representatives from one political party? Because when you break it down, but a Powell is from People's Action Movement, and but a Tri-Liber is from the CCM. I mean, it's a unity construct, you know. And then on the other hand, now you had 2 from the remnant Labour Party, 2 people, 2 persons, but I don't know how that happened, but let me move on. Okay, yeah, the previous caller saying all these glorious things about the Labour Party. Well, there's no doubt that the Labour Party, right, did some good things under Bradshaw, under Mr. Southwell, but the Labour Party, the philosophy, I'm not a Labour supporter, but most of my families are and was. Most of the philosophy of the Labour Party died when Mr. Southwell died. I am telling, I could debate anybody on that. And from the time Mr. Southwell died, the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party being going down until what it is today. It is a fragmented of what it used to be. So Butcher did some good things, especially. Everybody know how I feel about him, so I'm not going to go to that. Bittersweet. And I could debate anybody on that too, because some of the policies as in the truth, the terror that what this is out to us as Rastafarians in the 70s, I could deal with that too. And I was a victim of that, and I could deal with that. What he did when it come to when he nationalized the lands, I agree with that 100%. And the greatest agricultural program St. Kitts Nevis have seen up to this day. It was done under him. Nothing surpassed that. Did some things on the education here and there and others. But let me come to the People's Action Movement. Undisputedly, the People's Action Movement / NRP administration modernized St. Kitts and Nevis. No one can dispute that. Almost all the modernization of St. Kitts and Nevis was done or started by the People's Action Movement, NRP administration. In 15 short years, If you check from budget time, from the Mr. Southwell, when the last power, AT on the limo, I think that was 20-something years. I don't remember exactly, but I know it was 20-something years. And come from 1995 to 2015, it's about 40-something years. 40-something years. Compare that 40-something years to the 15 years that the People's Action Movement / NRP was there. No one. Look at what Dr. Simmons and the great Sim Daniel did. But modernize St. Kitts and Nevis. Modernize St. Kitts and Nevis is stand-up stuff living for the poorest of the poor. Rise to the highest level ever, my beloved brother. And you should know, brother Bacchus, you've been a media person for 40-something years plus. I know what to, by me listening, you know, I always said that since I was a teenager in the 70s. You're a well-rounded person. You know these things, beloved. So no one cannot come and tell me that the People's Action did not modernize St. Kitts and make St. Kitts what it is today. Everybody has either follow in the trail or add on to what the foundation that the People's Action Movement / NRP administration did. I mean, 3 years is not enough. You can't measure not 40-something years by 3 years or 15 years and 3 years. No. When this administration is given a next 5 years mandate, and that will happen, it's only unity movement can destroy the unity movement, and they're on the right track so far. They're doing some good things. I mean, more should be done, especially when it comes to agriculture and our education system and everything, but and the integrity in public life, and I know constitutional reform, electoral reform, all of that is coming. Everything cannot be done in 5 years. It's not possible. So anybody going to say and glorify that the Labour Party did all these glorious things, it's just total nonsense, and they're not telling the truth. And the facts are there, my beloved brother. So, brother, I want to thank you again for hearing me out. And I could debate anybody when it comes to People's Action Movement / NRP administration and the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party administrations. I could debate anybody on that. I am 50, late 50s. And I've been studying politics, listening to politics for time. I was about 70 years old. Beloved, thanks again for hearing me. Pan-Africanism and perish, one love.
All right, one love, thank you very much. We will certainly find a way for you to debate someone. We'll have to figure out how we're going to get that done. But yeah, I think it would be a good idea to put you on a debating panel and have someone from the other side, because whenever you look back at a country and a period of time, it all depends on who you're talking to. And of course, there is research available in terms of the economic statistics, the growth numbers and all that. Those are available. But you'll find people will say different things to you about what happened in their community, or what happened with their family, what happened with their fortunes, their business, their opportunities under one administration or the next. And they have their views as to whether it was good or bad for them. You know, so yeah, I think we'll try to arrange you to have a debate. So we can hear the arguments on both sides. So that's what we try to do to NFM, facilitate dialogue and debate on the issues. Back to the phone lines we go. Call you live and on the air, and good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Bacchus. How are you today, sir?
I'm doing fine today, sir. Good afternoon to you.
It's good to hear your voice. Just some quick suggestions. You know, I'm a fan of your show, The Voices, even though, you know, I've been doing some wrong things, but it's okay, you're doing. But there's a saying that you either adapt or die. And, you know, exhausted to get your phone system up and going because you're getting some stiff competition from FNC. Anyhow, you know what to do. But, you know, they're all, even the guy who just went, they're all over by FNC, you know, and I don't want to see your program die. So adapt or die. Anyhow, you had a program on. I came on this morning just passing by, and I heard you talking to some people from the planning board, and I was like, wow, God is good. I just happened to pass by here, because I usually just tune in, to voices when you had the people. I know them all. I told one of them that one of them is going to end up to jail. Now, the gentleman you had here, he's a great guy, Mr. Pemberton. He's doing a good job. And I wish him all the best. And I'm glad that you're bringing these along. So what's the name of that program, and what time does it come on?
Well, they want to have a program the last Wednesday of every month at 10:30 in the morning, from 10 until 10:30, the last Wednesday of every month. So it's going to be a series of programs.
Make a note of that, because I have Mr. Pemberton's personal number, so I know it's an ongoing story. You did a good job on the passport issue, and so you're not as timid as you pretend to be. You did a very good job on that. And you promised us that you'll be discussing the issue with the Building Board Amendment Act. So we're looking forward to hear you. I told you to have those people on Voices. That's what I tuned into, Voices, just to hear you. What happened. So I know you were hanging up on me, slamming, and now the truth is coming out. So I hope you can eventually talk about the issue. You plan to bring it to us. You say you got to get more information from Parliament about the Building Board Amendment Act, where they had to add people to the Building Board. And congratulate yourself, and thank me for that act, okay? And thank the unity government, of course. We cannot hide corruption, okay? So now you know what's really going on. And the other things now that, just a lot of things have to be cleaned up, and we have to be, like I said, and you said yourself, the press is there for justice, and it must be done. Not hiding and running and jumping up, I know the gentleman come and, try to defend you and your boss, but you're not about that, and your boss is not about that. You're for good governance, transparency, and I'm a victim of the corruption at that same board, and it must be cleaned up. Don't care what. I'm going to see to that I go to jail. If we don't do it in St. Kitts, I'll make sure America does it. So I'm an American citizen, and I was wrong. My land is falling into the gut that was dug, a little strip of land. Okay? You have to get to it. So I'll make a deal to that. And Mr. Pemberton seems to be doing a good job. And I was going to tell you who was fired from the Building Board, thanks to Unity again, but I'll do that some other time. Have a good day. Peace and justice. Have a good day, sir.
Okay, my brother. Thank you very much for calling. And I do apologize for hanging up with you, but sometimes I take action I think is in the best interest of the station, because I'm trying to avoid us being accused of being extremely unfair or being forced to climb the court steps, as we say in the Caribbean. But you're always welcome to call. We always look forward to hear what you have to say. Your views are important to us as well. You're listening to Voices on Win FM 98.9. We were talking a bit early on about a number of things. CARICOM meeting. What are some of the deficits in the information from CARICOM? People not getting clear information, request information denied. And of course, there's success stories too. It's not all doom and gloom. There are things to celebrate about CARICOM, things to celebrate about the Eastern Caribbean. And there's no better place to live in the world than the Caribbean as far as I'm concerned. Now, there was a recent Growth and Resilience Forum, and the OECS Director General, Didicus Jules, made a presentation. He did use a few slides and PowerPoint presentation and all that, but I wanted to share some of his thoughts with you on today's edition of Voices. So I'm going to play a bit of that presentation. Some of it I hope will not distract you too much, because he may be referring to a slide, but I think it's comprehensive enough for you to understand what the points that he's making, and you might find it instructive. You may even want to comment on what you've heard. So I'm going to pick it up in progress. I'm not going to take it from the very top.
So here's the OECS approach in general. You see the member states located here. The idea is not for us, as I said earlier, to create a new disaster mechanism for the OECS. At each one of those circles you see here, each member state has a national disaster mechanism. The thinking here is let us focus our efforts going forward on strengthening capacity at the national level. That's where the rubber hits the road. Strengthen capacity at the national level so that the NEMOs, the national security apparatus and so on, are strengthened and are able to deal adequately with challenges in that national space. However, digesting the lessons of Irma and Maria, we recognize that if a country is as badly hit as Dominica has been or Barbuda, that national structure almost is paralyzed, because in the hours immediately following the hit, I mean, you know, all your medical personnel, their own homes have been destroyed. You can't get people mobilized in that way. So we need to create now in a formal way what we did just by instinct in this last season. Let us create a network of these institutions. So if one country is hit, the next proximate group of countries that are not hit will automatically, their disaster mechanisms will automatically kick in support. So let's say if we were to relive, if Maria was to happen under different circumstances, Dominica is hit, immediately St. Lucia, Martinique, the islands closest become the hubs, the logistical hubs for support. And automatically the disaster mechanisms and personnel from these countries will move into Dominica and start working almost as if it's their own country that was hit, freeing up the Dominicans to catch themselves and to pitch in when the time comes. So we're looking at three critical things. There are really more than three, actually, because I finished this presentation at 2 o'clock this morning, and there are others that I would have put in, especially listening to the discussion. So we're talking 5 really buckets of that constitute our approach: disaster and hazard management, security, dealing with economic resilience, resilient communities, and human capacity. So these would be the five things. Now, when we talk about the disaster hazard thing, we will then be working. So the OECS strengthen things at the national level, establish ourselves as a network of these national entities, and then liaise now with CEDIMA, with the 5 Cs, with CIMH, Caribbean Met Organization, CAFA. We then interface with those CARICOM bodies that are responsible for particular dimensions of disaster or hazard management. On the security front, equally we liaise with IMPACTS, RSS, CASOX, and we have already started discussions with the French, the Dutch, the British, and the Americans who have assets in the region, so that those security assets be able to coordinated and kick in the event of a disaster. Outside of a disaster, that framework also allows us to engage those assets in drug interdiction and all of that. Now, where that connects with the disaster and hazard management is that through the networks that we have created, we intend to run simulations like war games. If we can do joint military exercises, and we can do joint disaster exercises as well, to practice that seamlessness of response across the OECS. And then there's the economic dimension of it, which was discussed there this morning. A lot of work has been done. Chairman Chasney and Prime Minister Mitchell have been particularly active on that front, talking to OECD to try to deal with the graduation formula challenge, the question of how we treat debt, especially debt incurred in relation to disaster and recovery, building resilience, our discussions with the EU on the de-risking, on discussions on de-risking, as well as the other financial challenges that we face, the blacklisting. But ECCB and CDB also have a critical role to play in that resilience building. So here's what we've done in the last few months. We've created this framework, an integrated, comprehensive framework for building resilience. And we started off by, first of all, if you look to the right, the range of disasters. We're not just talking hurricanes here. We're talking about disasters from many perspectives. Because again, if we want to be comprehensive, we can't just be focusing on the immediate experience that we have just had. So for us, disasters are of three kinds: disasters and hazards, environmental, technological, and health. The environmental, obviously, would be things like hurricanes, tsunamis, earthquakes, volcanic eruptions. So that's a much wider thing than just Maria and Irma. On the technological front, we're talking about things like the collapse of buildings, catastrophic accidents, attacks of computer networks, etc. And on the health side, we are talking about health dangers like pandemics and diseases affecting livestock, marine, agricultural pests, contamination and sanitation challenges, as well as mental health impacts. And again, to the mental health impacts, there are a lot of things that happened that we learned from that experience of Maria and Irma that would not normally come to the fore. There was a team of Dominican doctors and nurses from the diaspora called the Medical Mission. And they brought in medicines, mobile clinics. They were doing a lot of work on the ground. And they said to us that after about 2 weeks of operation, they discovered that just by chance, one of the rescue people came in to have their blood pressure checked, and their vitals was going through the roof. Now, because they were co-located in the security area, they decided to check everybody else. And every Dominican in that space, their vitals were going through the roof. So the challenge is, it suddenly dawned on them that here we are helping people, but the persons who are helping are not themselves being properly taken care of. Now that again reinforces why it is important for us to set up this architecture in the way that we're talking about. Because then all Dominicans were under stress dealing with this crisis. It would be good, and we actually tried to arrange that at some point, but by then, things move so fast, to see if we can we get a contingent of, say, nurses from the other OECS countries to come in and relieve Dominican nurses. So you could almost put the Dominicans on shift, time out, relax, try to relax, get it out of your space so that you're not under that constant stress. Dominica has one of the largest populations of percentages of elderly demographically in their population. And again, the reports we got from the medical personnel is that elderly people are dying out at an unprecedented rate because of the stress, they're losing hope and so on. So that's a huge piece that needs to be thing. Now, in collaboration with UNICEF, we set up something called a Return to Happiness program for kids. So counselors go in, psychosocial counseling for kids to help them get over the trauma of the experience. But we decided, let's keep this going. So the group that provided that is now a permanent virtual group in the OECS. Using virtual technology, they continue to do professional development, and they will be available to member states as the need arises. So not just in times of disaster, but whenever, to put psychosocial counseling to a higher level of prominence within the education system. We've designed the types of vulnerability and everything. What has triggered this work also is the fact that we have this Caribbean Climate Smart Coalition, which was spearheaded by Sir Richard Branson, that brings together some big private sector persons like Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, into the mix to provide support to help the Caribbean realize its ambition of being the world's first climate smart coalition, the climate smart region. And we recognize from that there are huge opportunities there, because dealing with the multilaterals, you heard some of the challenges, the graduation formula. In the face of all of this disaster, it was still a battle to get even a suspension of some of these rules. Whereas if we deal with a private sector grouping, we don't have some of the same restrictions. Of vital importance to us from the OECS perspective is that the non-independent member states can now be on a level playing field with the independent states, because Montserrat, Anguilla, BVI are not going to be told, well, you have the British responsibility, so you can't benefit from a particular project.
An excerpt there from a presentation by Dr. Didicus Jules, the Director General of OECS at the recent Growth and Resilience Forum held at the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank in St. Kitts, looking at some of the issues, building resilience. We're just a few months away from another hurricane season. And of course, it's very topical at the moment to be talking about what do I have to do to be more resilient? What do I have to do? What do I need to do with the house? What do I need to do with the yard? What has to be done in the community? What can be done at my level? And what needs to be done perhaps at a more macro level as we prepare for another hurricane season? We keep our fingers crossed. And of course, we're hoping that it's going to be not as destructive as the last one, but it's not in our control. All we can do is do our very best to prepare. It's Voices, and you can get us at 662-762-0989. 662-0989, 762-0989. And this segment of Voices comes to the very best wishes of SL Hospital and Company Limited, KFC, and Flow.
Ready when you're ready. Ready to build? Ready to construct? Well, if you're ready, then we're ready. Ready when you're ready. From roads to foundation, Portsmouth Building Center is ready to organize and deliver the highest quality ready-mix concrete for your residential, commercial, or industrial projects. Call 465-2262, extension 1187, or 664-2640. And let us organize and deliver ready-mix concrete when you're ready. Ready when you're ready. Portsmouth's ready-mix concrete, ready when you ready. Ready when you're ready.
I'll take a small.
XL, that's the size for me. Flow's new prepaid combo plans have the most choice and value for everyone. Save up to 90% by combining your talk, text, and data into one simple plan. And with options starting at just $19.99, it's easy to say it, type it, or share it. A whole lot more for a whole lot less. Dial *129# now to activate. The bigger you go, the bigger you save with Flow's new prepaid combo plans. This is how we flow.
Shopping is a lot easier with Quartz Ready Finance. Choose what you want from our wide range of quality products, and we take care of the rest. Quartz Ready Finance's affordability means there's no deposit. There's no need for a lump sum of cash. It's flexible, which means you choose your payment term and you're guaranteed the lowest monthly payments anywhere. Best of all, it's easy. Easy to get and easy to pay. Shop at Quartz today and get what you want hassle-free. Quartz Ready Finance. Easy, affordable, flexible.
How does it feel when you got that feeling? You got the flavor you love. How does it feel when you know you're not dreaming? There is nothing above.
How you feel when things come together? How you feel when everything nice? How you feel when you savor the flavor, the feeling you get when the taste every bite?
You tune to WinFM 98.9. Of course, we are trying to rectify our telephone issues today. We've had some people working on that project. Hopefully by tomorrow all should be restored, but you can still try to get through to us at 762-0989, 662-0989. 20 minutes after the hour of 1 o'clock. As we keep the spotlight on CARICOM regional integration, tackling the challenges of the Caribbean together, whether at OECS level or CARICOM level. Well, Grenada's Prime Minister Keith Mitchell will face the electorate next month. He made a presentation at the CARICOM International meeting in Haiti that ended yesterday, and he also raised a few issues about integration and leadership.
Mr. President, as the first free black nation, Haiti's liberation struggle is inextricably linked to the Caribbean struggle. The fraternal ties and roots between Grenada and Haiti, for instance, go deeper than many may appreciate. As Henry Christophe, one of the key leaders in the Haitian Revolution, on October 6, 1767, in the island of Grenada. But the chairman, it is for these reasons that our CARICOM community has stood resolutely in the defense of Haiti and the principles of equality, justice, and the right to self-determination, for which Haiti has paid and still paying an enormous price. Brother Chairman, the people of Haiti have also taught us phenomenal lessons in resilience, and we bring these lessons to remembrance at this crucial time as our region undertakes the task of building after the devastation brought to many of our islands less than 6 months ago by Hurricanes Irma and Maria. Been assumed, my dear sisters and brothers, the chairmanship of this CARICOM community last July. Our CARICOM solidarity was fully demonstrated when members of our CARICOM family were confronted with a multi-country devastation never before seen in our region. CARICOM governments, institutions, civil society organizations, and the people of our community were among the first responders with massive outpouring of generosity and a spirit of compassion and the CARICOM family unity, which highlighted the best among us. I offer profound gratitude to all those who so willingly extended a helping hand to our brothers and sisters in the affected countries. I also seize this opportunity, sisters and brothers, to express our heartfelt appreciation to those corporate and international development partners and friendly states who made and are fulfilling the pledges committed to at the CARICOM UN High-Level Pledging Conference held last November in New York. As CARICOM states, we must now work to establish smart international partnerships and collaborative efforts to achieve the resilience that we need. In that regard, our engagement at the highest level in the last quarter of 2017 with the presidents of Mexico and Cuba enable us to solidify those relationships and resulted in increased threads of cooperation, particularly in disaster risk management. Internationally, sisters and brothers, as chairman of the World Bank Small States Forum, I have at every turn, including at COP23 in Bonn late last year, underscored small states' susceptibility to natural disasters and outlined challenges of swift mobilization and disbursements of badly needed financial resources to those countries that may not have easy access to concessional development finances. Further, last December, a Caribbean Climate Smart Coalition was launched in partnership with Sir Richard Branson in Paris. That coalition seeks rapid implementation of the US $8 billion climate investment plan that will transform the regional energy system, build resistance, drive economic growth, and set us on the road to becoming climate resilient region. Colleagues, my dear sisters and brothers all, the resilience we require of necessity must also include our social, economic, and technological capacities. This therefore brings into focus the importance of completing the measures to fully implement the CARICOM single market and economy. which is key to building our economic resilience by ensuring that we trade freely intra-regionally, particularly in agricultural products, which for many of us form the backbone of our exports. What is also needed, my dear friends, is an urgency to apply the approved implementation plan for the period 2017 to 2019 to accelerate the use of measures under that regime. At our meeting last July, we approved the Human Resource Development 2030 strategy, along with an accompanying action plan to build skills among people. Within that plan, my sisters and brothers, there is an emphasis on maximizing the use of communications and information technology, ICT, as a major tool in driving that development. This would enhance the environment for investment, productivity and innovation, support a sustainable increase in growth and jobs, enhance efficiency in and increase access to public services. To facilitate progress in that sector and improve our technological resilience, we also approved the July roadmap for a single ICT space. There has always been progress in strengthening the role of statistics in our decision making. Following our endorsement of the preparation of the CARICOM Regional Strategy for the Development of Statistics, the assessment phase of our statistical capabilities has been completed. Work has also been advanced on its draft strategic framework with the aim of presenting it to the July meeting of conference later this year.
All right, a bit of what Dr. Mitchell had to say. On today's Voices, we put the spotlight on the recent CARICOM Intersessional meeting held in Haiti. You heard from Mr. Larocque, the Secretary General. You also heard from Mr. Golden in his assessment of the success and challenges of the integration movement from the perspective of Jamaica. You also heard from Dr. Keith Mitchell. We spoke to Alistair Yarwood as well about the beach issues, and we had some callers interacting, giving their views, some from the left, some from the right, and that was quite interesting as well. All right, thank you so much for being a part of our program. Hopefully tomorrow we'll have our telephone issues resolved and you'll have an easier time having access to the program. Have a pleasant afternoon.
Ready when you're ready. Ready to build? Ready to construct? Well, if you're ready, then we're ready. Ready when you're ready. From roads to foundation, Portsmouth's Building Center is ready to organize and deliver the highest quality ready-mix concrete for your residential, commercial, or industrial projects. Call 465-2262, extension 1187, or 664-2640. And let us organize and deliver ready-mix concrete when you're ready. Ready when you're ready. Portsmouth's Ready-Mix Concrete. Ready when you ready. Ready when you're ready.
How does it feel when you got that feeling? You got the flavor you love. How does it feel when you know you're not dreaming? There is nothing above.
How you feel when things come together? How you feel when everything nice? How you feel when you savor the flavor, the feeling you get when you taste every bite?
So good when you get the night. So good it tastes just right. So good the place to be. So good it's
WINN is 98.9. 98.
To be in tip-top shape. These tips are signs that your brakes are ready for changing. To be in tip-top shape. These tips are signs that your brakes are ready for changing. If you feel a pull to the side as you brake, it may mean there is a need to do a brake adjustment or the brake fluid needs to be drained. Loud metallic sounds or growling as you brake is an indication that your brake pads are worn completely and need replacement immediately. If this is delayed, it may scratch your rotors or create permanent damage, which could mean a replacement is necessary.
This public service announcement was brought to you by TDC Insurance Company Limited.
TDCIC, guaranteeing you peace of mind.
Hi there, very good morning to you. Time to welcome you to another edition of Voices on Win FM 98.9. Our numbers are 4660989.